Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is the idiots list of professional wrestling. Your boy Mikey Gordon, Dirty Ron McDonald here with the real John Atkins, not the fake one. John, here we are.
We're here.
We're doing this.
Live.
We're live. You're listening to it live. I've been a professional wrestler for 20 years. I've been a promoter for 13. I've been a fan all my life. John, you are the ring announcer at my pro wrestling promotion, Fist Combat.
Hell yeah.
Been a fan all your life.
Hell yeah, since I was 5.
Both of us, we're wrestling. I guess I'd call myself almost like a wrestling historian at this point. Because I've watched so much of it.
Right.
That I don't know about you, but I don't know. I've watched it so long that I've watched the shitty parts of wrestling and the good parts of wrestling that people are like, why do you still watch it if it sucks? I'm like, well, because at this point I feel like I have to.
Right.
I have to watch it. I have to know what's going on.
I did take a break though, like when I was in college, which was like
when you were getting laid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I decided that was more important for a couple of years,
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
I did miss, that's when Cena started to rise, and that's when I kind of missed out.
We're the same age, right?
I'm 35, yeah.
36, yeah, same shit. Were you one of the people that went back and forth between Raw and Nitro?
Oh, for sure.
Without a doubt, yeah.
Until, was it Tony Schiavone told everyone to go watch Raw? Was that Tony Schiavone?
They were like, don't turn to Raw because Mick Foley's going to win. I remember here was my first memory of watching, I remember it all, but one of my craziest memories from that time is I remember when Rick Rude showed up on Raw and Nitro in the same night.
Right.
And I go, I'm in the family room watching wrestling, and I was like, holy shit! I'm in 7th grade. I'm like, holy shit! My mom was like, Michael, what are you saying? I go, Mom.
Michael.
I go, right, Michael Patrick Michael. I was like, Mom, Rick Rude is on Nitro and Raw on the same night. Holy shit! She was like,
right.
No more watching TV for the night. I was like, God damn it! This is fucking monumental.
Looking back, I wonder if that pissed off Vince more or Alundra Blaze throwing away the women's title on TV.
I don't know. How long has Vince never cared about women's wrestling? I'm sure he cared a lot more.
Right.
When Rick Rude, I don't know. That was a thing back in the day. If you found that little extra edge,
right.
It's like, all right, well, we're gonna get one over on the other guys.
Right.
I think Rick Rude was probably the last guy that made any sort of impact jumping from WWE to WCW, and shortly after that, people started jumping from WCW to WWF.
Right.
X-Pac and fucking whoever else came in. Late '98, early '99, Jericho, all that shit.
Oh, Jericho to me is one of my favorite debuts.
It was a great debut.
Hell yeah, that was great TV too.
It was great, man. Who better for the Chris Jericho to come in and interrupt than The Rock, right?
Right. My favorite line from that whole segment is when The Rock was like, I was here when you were wrestling guys named Juventud.
Well, this podcast is going to be a weekly edition of our top 5 or so list of whatever the list is that week. This week it is a top 5 WWF or WWE champions of all time. We put this question out to our social media at PW Idiot List. That's on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. PW Idiot List, all one word. And we'll get that popping. But we put out who is the top 5 WWE, WWF champions of all time. We got some great lists. We got a very well-rounded list. It was kind of hard because when I put it out, you saw the post that I made.
Right.
And
couldn't comment on it.
Well, yeah, but how do you gauge a top? What did you put into your idea? Because a champion could be so many things. Who do you like? Who made the most money? Who got the best TV ratings? Who drew the biggest pay-per-view? Who had the longest run? There's so many things that go in the criteria. What did you have as your criteria?
So to me, the best and my favorite are different lists. So to me, I went.
So what is this list then to you?
This is the best list. This is what I went with. Who had the biggest impact, basically. Because because if we went through my favorites, it'd be a whole bunch of people that probably people don't even like,
Oh, really? So your favorites would be Dolph Ziggler and shit like that, but you're you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily people that drew the best.
Right. Because I as a kid, when you were a kid, I didn't realize everyone hated Papa Shango. I thought Papa Shango was like the fucking most badass dude, and then when I look back at like shit now, people are like, "Oh, he sucked." I was like, "What?"
My fiance is absolutely in love with Kane.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
and here's the weirdest part about that. When she started liking Kane, it was like during corporate Kane. So like she started liking Kane in like the worst Kane,
right.
right? Yeah, and that's that's what's great about wrestling. Just like when people argue about comic books, is like it's so subjective. It's like, well, what could this person do against this person, or why do you like this person over that person?
Like when I was a kid, I thought Hakushi was badass,
Absolutely.
and he lasted a whole like couple months, and that was it.
Hakushi would have been somebody 10 years later would have had like the Daniel Bryan treatment. It was like
Oh right,
like the crowd dug him, but he wasn't being pushed as the guy.
that's true.
I feel like that started happening like with Rob Van Dam. Like Rob Van Dam was like in ECW they were pushing him, right, but like on the mainstream level, like people dug him, but like the powers that be didn't want to push him as like the guy.
Right. Well, Rod Van Dam kind of get it because substances and stuff,
Yeah. What? But like, do you like? I don't know. I honestly, if I was being honest with myself, RVD was never the guy. He would have been like a Dolph Ziggler, like a guy that was good enough, but a guy who like probably wasn't on the level of the guys that we're talking about today.
Now, Rob Van Dam was in one of my favorite matches of all time with the versus John Cena.
The one at the Hammerstein
Fuck yeah,
for one night
dude.
stand. Yeah,
Where every time Cena threw his shirt in the crowd, they threw it back. I was like, holy fuck, this is amazing.
I watched that live.
Yeah.
I was at Cena versus CM Punk in Chicago,
Okay.
2011 for that.
So that's when I wasn't watching. That's when I missed CM Punk's like entire run, basically.
You didn't miss anything. So like, when did you quit watching? Like,
I guess it would be like 2003 or 2004.
it's probably a good time.
And then I picked back up around like 2008-ish.
It was weird too for me because like when I got into wrestling, I started wrestling in 2000. And so I started training. I had my first match in 2001, and I was watching, and then I was every day, every second of my life was wrestling for like 6 years, and then I quit because I started my own business, and like I still kind of knew what was going on,
Right.
but like it wasn't something I had to watch every week.
So when did you realize that it's scripted?
Well, my mom was a professional
Oh,
wrestler.
that's right.
And so like she kind of my parents kind of tried to keep it like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny,
That's
like
pretty cool.
not admitting that it was,
Right.
but like I'm not an idiot. I've always been somebody to question things,
Right.
and like I always listen to my gut and I listen to my eyes, which
Right.
is weird, but like you could see sometimes when like a guy didn't connect all the way,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even with the shitty fucking TVs that were in the 80s and the early 90s
Right.
when I was still a dipshit kid. Now I'm just a dipshit adult. But even back then, like you could see if a guy missed a guy. Like, it was very rare,
Right.
But when you saw it, you're just like, wait a second,
Because I know people would like tell me, they'd be like, "Oh, that's not real," and I'd be like, "Oh, bullshit." And then I was watching a match with one of the guys that we're going to talk about later, and he totally whipped like a couple punches in a row, and I was like, "Oh no!"
like I always when I saw it, like people. Once people were like kids were trying to tell me it was fake, I just looked at it like I was like, well, like, yeah, we all know it's fake, but you're being an asshole. Like nobody called it fake to me before
Right.
I kind of realized what was going on. Like
Because your mom was a wrestler, or just because they were just being cool, or
no. Like my mom wasn't anything like anybody would ever know, right?
Okay.
But like, by the time that the kids were like trying to make fun of you for liking wrestling,
yeah,
like I was just like, hey, like I realized you're just trying to be an asshole,
right, right,
It's like, yeah, so are movies. Like fucking Jack Nicholson didn't die at the end of Batman with Michael Keaton. You know what I'm saying? When he
Right.
fell off the fucking building, like, duh, it's all fucking play. But hey, I don't watch Batman going, no, this is Jack Nicholson. He's just an actor. Like I want to get into it. Won't watch
right,
it.
right. Suspension of disbelief.
Like that's why like I think you and I clicked is because I was like this guy likes wrestling. He likes being a shithead.
Right.
He likes entertaining people.
Right.
And it's hard to find people that you click and you work well with. Like you and I understand wrestling, I feel like the same way, where it's like it's enjoyable, it's fun, it's a show, it's
Right.
something that people can have a good time at.
Right.
You know, it's not something that we all got to sit here and analyze and is this? Let's analyze all the technical parts. We're like, fucking have a fun time watching the show.
Well, I feel like I've always had a mind for the business too, because when I was in high school, do you remember E-Federations?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where you would go like on message boards and cut promos, and like someone would write up like a script and matches and everything. Like I used to do that shit.
I would do the thing where you paid a little money to the wrestling magazine.
Oh yeah.
And like you pick your moves and they do it for you, and
Yeah.
they're just trying to siphon money out of you. I mean, it was fun, but by the time, like legit, I was backyard wrestling like my freshman year in high school,
Oh yeah. When we were in high school,
junior high even too.
my best friend Chris, he had, well, I guess now you would call it special needs, brother. But at the time, we were just a bunch of shithead kids, so we would like beat the fuck out of his brother, like
Yeah.
throw him through like plywood and like you remember we would put like a piece of plywood over like two sawhorses and
Of course.
fucking like rock bottom and all that shit.
Without a doubt, dude. Like we built rings in my junior year. Okay, so I started training my sophomore year. By my junior year, we built a ring out
Oh,
of
you were
wood.
training in high school?
Oh, I was 16 years old, dude.
Oh, okay.
This was my sophomore year in high school.
Oh, okay.
Damn,
Damn, you're a sex tape away from being Paige.
dude.
Should I not say that?
No, I mean that's hilarious. So many dudes when I first started were like doing some underground fucking weird porno shit
Oh,
for
yeah?
a couple bucks, dude. Like I could, dudes that are like WWE champions. And
Oh,
shit. Like,
shit.
I
We're gonna
don't
talk
want-
about this later. We're gonna
yeah,
talk
I'm
about
not
this
gonna. I'm not gonna call them out on this
Fuck
thing.
yeah,
but
I
like,
can't wait.
dude, there was this thing called cyber fights back in the day. Okay, where it was like it was like custom matches. It was like super fucking homoerotic, right?
Right.
So it was all these guys that were like hot on the indie scene, and they'd all get flown up to Vancouver for a weekend, and they'd all do these matches in this warehouse with no audience. They were all oiled up. They'd take all these fucking homoerotic pictures. These are like guys that have been WWE tagged it
Right.
fucking all the way down the line, dude. Like everybody you know in NXT right now, you know, a lot of them have done this shit, you know,
Right.
and they get all oiled up, and they get paid like $750,000 a match when you're a couple years in. If you're a Twinkie looking little fucking skinny boy, like you're gonna take that money, you know.
Oh, dude, speaking of Twink, one of your wrestlers, I saw post a picture today on Instagram when he was like, dude, he looked like he was like 12 years old.
Ryan Kidd,
Yeah.
he started when he was 14.
Dude, he looks, yeah. I was like uncomfortable watching it, and I was like, this is like some Epstein stuff or something, you know? Like,
Straight up, dude.
he looks so young.
Not only was he young, he looks so young.
He looked very
He looked
young.
fucking like super twink.
But he's grown into it now, dude. Now he's a
Now
fucking
he's just
badass,
a middle twink. No, I love Kid. He's a good guy. But yeah, man, fucking wrestling's something that I feel like, you know, especially the way that we produce shows, is that wrestling is something that everybody has liked at one point in their life.
Right.
Because there's so many aspects about wrestling that I feel like people relate to because they wish they could be like that in real life.
Right.
How many times you wish you could cut a promo on your fucking heel ass boss,
Right.
you know? Or fucking give him a little stunner real quick. Ah, boom, you know?
It's the closest thing to a superhero in real life, you know?
And it is. It is. Like, you know, like when I talk to people about wrestling, I'm like, where else at a show can you see live entertainment that is comedy, action, drama, improv, all the stunt show while
Right.
we're in our fancy underwear with an audience 360 degrees around?
Right.
You know, comedy clubs, music shows, church. You gotta sit down and shut the fuck up. You know,
Right.
wrestling, we're like get drunk and interact with the show.
And it's like, you know, like in sports, like in football, like people specialize, right? Like, you're just fast, so you're a wide receiver now or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you
Right.
specialize in shit.
For sure,
But like in wrestling, like your top stars are all of that shit.
all of it.
Like, Kurt Angle, for example, dude. He's comedy. Like, he's all that
Dude, he
shit.
was
You know what I
everything.
mean? Like, or when Stone Cold, remember when Stone Cold would wear that little cowboy hat and shit? Like, he was comedy. He's not like a, but other,
Absolutely.
your main stars and other shit can't do all of that.
Well, for sure, you know, and to your point, when I'd go on auditions for the little acting stuff, I'm going against actors that sometimes need multiple takes, you
Right.
know, and
Right.
they're only doing it to a camera looking forward, you
Right.
know, and like I'm like, what, like, oh, you're a dramatic actor, like
Right.
I can do all that shit in one take. give me the idea, and I'm fucking flowing to everybody in the whole room. Like, I'll
Right.
make everybody in the whole room pay attention to what the fuck I got going on.
It kind of reminds me of like Rocky 2 or 3, I think, where they start putting him in commercials and he fucking can't read and shit, and the like producer's like, get this fucking guy out of here, dude.
Straight up.
But your top stars, like in wrestling, yeah, that's why Rock's the number one fucking star in Hollywood, because he can do all of it, dude. He can do comedy, action, fucking drama, like all that shit.
He can do all. I mean, like that's what I got into comedy because I was like, okay, I'm good at this wrestling thing. How
Right.
else can I use these skills
Right.
in the same arena that I'm doing this shit? And I was
Right.
like, well, comedy's great. It's one-on-one. It's with the audience. You get to show them your show and do all your own actions and emotions and all that shit.
Right. I'm surprised. Well, I don't want to give them any ideas, but I'm surprised Hollywood hasn't poached more wrestlers, because I mean
Because most of them suck. Most of them, and think about it. Like nowadays, how many wrestlers really have that rock all-encompassing? Even Austin was horrible.
That's gonna be a good list too one day. Like,
What's a Hollywood actor? A
like
Hollywood
would
wrestler?
either which wrestlers have done the best in Hollywood, or who do you think would do like good in Hollywood based on what you've seen from?
I mean, if you want to, look at pro wrestling. Look at Austin and The Rock. Austin was better, in my opinion. Austin was better than The Rock overall. I think by all numbers, he was better than The Rock. But once you get into Hollywood, Austin really didn't have that mainstream appeal. You
Right.
know, you know what he's missing that The Rock has? Sex appeal to the women.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you have to
he
have.
hasn't aged as well as The Rock. The
No.
Rock is like, he keeps getting.
He's on all the shit. Like,
Yeah, I
he's
know.
getting all the Botox.
But you know, like when you follow him on
Gotcha.
Instagram, you're like, this motherfucker gets better looking every day, dude. Like
Every day.
fuck.
I have never thought to do anything gay in my life, but if The Rock was like, suck my dick for $1 million, I'd be like, hell.
I don't think you would have a choice, dude. Like,
He'd make me.
'cause I remember he wasn't fat. None of them were fat, but as Rocky Maivia, he was a little had a little pudge on his muscles. You know, like he had a little baby fat on him.
Dude, when you travel like that, it's hard not to.
Right, right.
You know, you like people
But he was young
underestimate.
too, so it is
Straight
it is kind of like baby fat-ish, you know.
How many girls have you seen that are like good looking when they're 20 and good looking when they're 30? Like they got a little fat on them still when they're 20, but by the time they're 30, they have been eating good for 10 years and fucking doing
yeah.
coke like a professional.
Well, I don't know if this is inappropriate or not, but
Nothing's inappropriate.
whenever I'm like checking out a girl, and I'm not quite sure if she's old enough for me to be checking her out, like I look at their thighs, dude.
Yeah.
Because mature adult chicks, they have like definition in their thighs, like in their legs. Like to me, that's how you know. I'm like, oh shit, like she got some fat legs. I need to stay away from that one for a couple of years,
Oh, what? Could you say fatter legs mean they're younger?
Yeah, like no definition and shit.
Oh,
like,
okay, yeah. Just
That's
like,
that's literally how I could tell if a girl's like too young or too old, because I can't. I mean,
hey,
you
man,
can't tell, girl.
dude,
You know how girls
it's
are
so
these days.
tough.
Dude, like, right?
It's tough.
Have you ever seen that meme where it was like whatever 7th graders in like 1995?
Nope, done.
You know what I mean? It's like two pictures. It's like 7th graders in '95 and 7th graders in like 2015, and like one's wearing like Disney fucking like t-shirts, and the other one's like all slutted out and shit. Like,
Where were
not
those
to
girls
get
when I was
into
in
that
fifth
too
grade?
much, but that's what I'm saying. Like the body, like, and then the way I can tell if a girl's too old is if like the skin on their knees starts sagging, and then I'm like, all right, well,
If the skin on your knees starts sagging, you need to do something. Well, hey, we're here for the top 5 greatest, best, I don't know, whatever, WWE, WWF champions of all time. We put this question out to our social media at PW Idiot List, PWIDIOTLIST, PW Idiot List on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Well, let's get to it. We had a lot of guys and gals turn in their list to us. Some fucking indie guys, some fucking fans of wrestling, all sorts of stuff. And we'll be putting the question out. Let's see, what is today? I don't know. We'll probably be putting a question out like on Monday or something, and then trying to record like
okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, some shit. I don't know.
And we're not one of those
We'll get
big
on the
timers that
schedule.
won't answer you. If you message us, we'll fucking answer you back and say what up, or your list is stupid or whatever.
We'll read your list and you can hear how stupid we think it is.
We're not like WrestleMania where you fucking keep comment and they never answer you.
What is this? WrestleLandia?
WrestleMania. It's like a YouTube.
Fuck
Anyway,
them.
yeah.
Fuck those guys. I'm just kidding.
They're probably
Put us on your podcast.
probably cool.
They probably are cool. Just don't got time to answer everybody. All right. Well, I'm putting this. This is my lifetime. To me, who I think was the best champion of all time. And what I'm basing this on is a mixture of how much I like them
Right.
versus how much appeal they had to the mainstream.
Okay.
Right? As WWE champion and only as WWE champion, like what they meant to WWE in general.
Okay.
You know, that's
Right.
what I base my list on.
Right. No, because like Hornswoggle did have some like mainstream, like people knew who Hornswoggle was. Like,
For sure. For sure.
But you know.
Yeah. He never won a championship. Before we get to our top 5 list, I didn't even ask you this beforehand, so this is right off the cuff. Who's a guy that you think, who is the best guy in WWF to never have the title?
Oh, Razor Ramon, dude. That's not even.
Really? Okay.
Like, you did. It's funny because you didn't ask me that question beforehand.
Yeah.
But like,
You didn't even hesitate.
no, dude. Fucking Razor Ramon, dude. That ladder match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, 10?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite matches of fucking all time.
It's good.
I remember watching it on blurred out fucking pay-per-view where like the lines are all like jiggling around. You can kind of see it, dude.
You might have saw a tit from Channel 99 in there too.
I'm like, I don't know whose nipple that is, but I'm hard.
For me, it's Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper, I don't think he ever held a top championship in any promotion he was ever in.
Right.
Any major promotion.
He kind of reminds me of like Bray Wyatt, where like
He didn't need it.
He didn't need it.
He didn't need it.
He didn't need it.
You know, and that's the beautiful thing about it is that I don't think Andre was ever the WWE champion either. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe Andre was more important. But you don't need the title to get over. If you're over, you don't need the title. If you're over, I think the way you should do it is if you're over and you get a title,
Right.
you just have the title to get the next guy over.
Right.
That's, I mean, breaking the fourth wall here. That's the only reason I ever booked Dirty Ron as a fucking champion. I'm telling you the
I'm
truth.
busting your balls.
No, I know, but I'm telling you the truth. I never wanted to be a guy. Like
Right.
I made this championship so I could like make it a little bit.
Right.
I've only had it since September.
Right.
I already had plans on dropping it until all this shit went down.
Right,
You know,
right.
like it's there. Championships are there to help elevate a guy.
Because
So-
Dirty Ron reminds me of like The Rock though, where like everyone.
Women love me, and I'm gonna be a Hollywood star.
Right. That too. You are one sexy Samoan motherfucker, but because people, the thing about The Rock is like he was always great chasing the title, you know, like that was like once he won it, it was like less exciting. But when he was like fighting for the title, that was like the fucking most compelling shit, you know.
Well, here let's start off our list then. Top 5 WWE WWF hit champions of all time. Got him a little drunk. Me for number 5, it's The Rock, and let me tell you why. Really looking back on it, when did The Rock win his first championship? 98 at Survivor Series, Deadly Games. His last championship, I believe he lost in 2002. So The Rock's reign was only for like not even 4 years.
Right.
And to me, The Rock was always a filler guy. Like the reason he's on my list is because he's a Hollywood guy.
Right.
Now people are like, oh yeah, The Rock. But as a champion, like he was good,
Right.
but he wasn't really that good in my life.
Right. No, I get
He
it.
was good. To me, he was a filler guy because in '99 he put over Austin. In 2001 he put over Austin. You know, and then at the end of his run, and the end of SummerSlam 2002, he put over Brock. Like to me, The Rock was always a guy that was over, had the championship to put
Right.
the next guy over.
Right. No. Wait. One quick question. How do you want to do this? Are you gonna go through your whole list?
No.
or are we gonna start at
I'm going to go 5.
then
We'll
I go
talk
5?
about it, and then you go
Okay,
to number
okay.
5.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you have any comments on mine, go
Okay.
for it, but then shoot yours.
No, because I also have Rock at 5.
Really?
Yeah. But like,
Why?
because he has to be top 5. Like,
That's what I said. I almost didn't put him on my list. I almost put like Kurt Angle there,
right.
but then I was like, I have to put The Rock on the list.
Because Rock was so like his era was so badass because there was actually a lot of mainstream people, dude. Like basically my judge is someone
Sure.
my judge my mom is my judge when it comes to like if someone's a celebrity or not. Because my mom is a 67-year-old immigrant from a third world country. And I remember when I was watching like the NBA finals, the Bulls versus Sonics, she fucking loved Gary Payton, dude. Like, and I was like, if my mom knows who you are, then you're fucking like hot
Then
shit.
you're on it.
You know
You're
what I
on.
mean?
You're
Like,
on something.
and she fucking, I mean, obviously now everyone knows The Rock, but like,
See, I think that I'm not going to shit on your list or like judge it or anything, but like I feel like we are putting me for sure. I put The Rock on my list more for what he's done since wrestling
Right.
than what he did in wrestling. You know?
See, I put
He,
Rock.
he started at the end of 96.
Right.
He was done by SummerSlam 2002.
Right.
His run was only 6 years.
Right.
From fucking Rocky Maivia to putting Brock over, it wasn't even 6 years.
See, I love The Rock because he's the one that taught me what a heel turn can do for somebody.
True.
Because holy shit, when he came back that one day, when he joined like the Nation of Domination, he's like, everybody was chanting, "Die, Rocky, die!" Like, I mean, I know that's like what happens when you do a heel turn. You give your speech about what fuck the fans and everything.
Yeah.
But something about his resonated with me, dude. Like, because he came out like in the Gucci, Versace,
Bro,
all that
they
shit.
hated him so bad. They hated him so bad.
It was almost like it's funny because his cousin.
Which one of the 5,000?
Oh yeah. Well, let me specify. Roman Reigns, right?
Oh yeah.
It kind of
That
started
cousin.
out like the opposite of The Rock, because when Roman Reigns with the Shield, like everyone was fucking wanting him to be the man, and then once they made him the man, they're like, "Oh no, fuck this guy, dude!" Like,
We'll get into this another day, I'm sure, more in depth. I really feel like he got so much heat because he came out in this. He was the last person to come out in that Royal Rumble where
Right.
people wanted Daniel Bryan to come
Right.
out, and he just caught the slack because of that.
that's definitely, I would say that's at least 50% of like.
At least.
But then like they just,
And then it was cool to shit on him.
yeah, because they definitely
Cool.
booked him stupid after that. Like,
It's hard to book people. Roman Reigns, and again we'll talk about this again, I'm sure someday. But like Roman Reigns, I met him. I've been around him, and he's just not a very outgoing personality. He doesn't have that it factor, and he doesn't believe in himself that way.
right?
You know,
But I feel like he's good. Now he's fucking awesome.
because there's no pressure on him.
Right.
There's no pressure on him.
But they were like, they were shoving him down everywhere.
Yeah, and you know that's the problem.
And it was just too much because
Because up until that point, it pretty much everybody that was over, for the most part, was over because they were the most over.
organically,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Except
And
Triple
so-
H. We'll get to that though.
right. But that's the first time I've, well, anyways, like the fans, like I've never seen the fans like totally reject someone that the way they rejected.
They also had a voice, social media. But we'll get into that in another episode. My number 4, John Cena. This is a guy who, in my lifetime, he was a guy that was the guy for the longest by far. Like he carried the company through their modern dark ages.
In our lifetime.
In my lifetime.
Right.
In our lifetime, John Cena carried it longer than anybody else. He's been the guy longer than anybody else.
Right.
It could be argued that he was the guy for almost 15 years.
Right.
Like the guy. And if you really look at it, Hogan was the guy from January '84. Really till like Ultimate Warrior, so 6 years. You know what I'm saying? Like even at the
Yeah,
most.
like 92. I was thinking like 92. Right. Yeah, that's like.
And well, because they tried Warrior, then like Savage, Ric Flair, a bunch of them had the title, and it was
Right.
real weird in the early '90s.
Right.
But like Hogan was undeniably the only guy
Right.
for 6 years.
Right.
Austin was undeniably the guy for like 3 or 4 years. Kind of, he got some injuries in there. But Cena was the guy longer than anybody in my lifetime. I think it can only be argued that Bruno Sammartino was the guy.
That's what I was
longer.
gonna say. I want to know what someone like in their 50s or 60s what their list would look like.
For sure.
Because Bruno would be number 1 for like anyone older than us. Like,
Right.
Because then you go undefeated for like fucking
11 years or some
10,
shit.
Yeah, 10, 11 years.
It was something crazy.
I actually had to Google what Andre's win-loss record was. Actually, just out of
Fabricated.
curiosity, like a month ago. Like, I was just like, because I was reading some blog post, and I was like, wait, did anyone ever actually beat Andre before Hogan body slammed him?
No. Well, they said it for 15. And here's what they did, like disqualifications or like countouts.
Oh, okay.
That's so like
Yeah, because he had like
technically
11 losses or so over like fucking.
I mean,
20
technically
years.
you lose by disqualification,
Right.
but the guy keeps his title or whatever the fuck.
Right.
Who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Bret the fucking Hitman Hart, baby.
This hurts me.
I wish he was higher actually, but my top 3, you can't fuck with those guys.
I'm pretty sure. I know for a fact that at least 2 of our top 3s are the same 2 people. I don't know who your number 3 is actually, but your number 4, Bret Hart. Why?
The Hitman, dude. Because I guess that's who when I was a kid. Because his run as the top guy started when I was like, what, 4th, 5th grade or whatever.
Yeah, 92, 93 ish.
But dude, but he's the one that I realized wrestling was scripted on, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
When did Bret Hart let people know it was scripted, by his movements?
He it wasn't exactly like a Luthez press he did on someone, but he like mounted someone, and like his punches were like he was on top of him, and his punches like it was clear as day to like whatever 8-year-old me or however old the fuck I was. I was like, oh, those aren't even like landing at all, and I was like, oh man.
To be fair, I feel you. To be fair, when I watch UFC, right, sometimes you see those guys get them short punches in there,
Right.
and you're like, you know for a fact they don't hurt, but they're just trying to score points.
Right.
But going back to the Bret Hart thing, so you're obviously a Bret Hart guy versus Shawn Michaels guy, right? I don't want you to spoil the rest of your listener.
No. It's funny because as a kid, I loved Bret Hart because he was the fucking hero. You know what I mean? Like he was the most perfect like athlete, like no scandals.
And for our lifetime, he was the first like athletic champion.
Right.
You know, because
He was
everybody else has been a
very-
jacked up fucking dude.
But as a kid, I didn't appreciate technical prowess.
But you did though,
Right.
because you liked it.
Right.
You know,
And then I always thought it was cool when he would come to the ring and take his sunglasses off and like everything. Like his music was badass too. Like everything about Bret Hart was fucking sick.
when I look at life, sometimes I'm like, either you were this guy or that guy, right?
Right.
Either you were a Ric Flair or a Hulk Hogan guy.
Right.
Either you were a Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels guy.
Right.
Either you like Seinfeld or you like Friends.
Right.
It's like I could
No one
always
likes
tell.
Friends over Seinfeld, dude.
You're wrong. It's the
Really?
lamest people. It's usually the people that like Bret Hart. They like Friends. Now, I respect you more because you don't, right?
Right.
But so many people, and I'm just telling you this. This is how I found it in my life personally. If the lamer people in my life, they like Bret Hart and they like Friends.
Right.
And like the people that get it, to me at
Right.
least, are like Shawn Michaels and Seinfeld people.
No, I get it. That is I actually get like the correlation between those two groups of people for sure. Now that you
Right.
explain it like that, no,
They're
I
like
get it.
lame fucking assholes like
So,
Bret Hart to me.
One guy that's not on my list, but like reminds me of Bret Hart, is Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Because they're like the only little guys who you actually think could beat like a bigger guy.
Let me tell you this: Bret Hart is not a little guy.
Well,
Compared to who he was against,
yeah.
And Daniel Bryan compared to who he was against, sure.
Right.
But Daniel Bryan is our height,
right.
and fucking Bret Hart is like 6 foot. You know?
Right. Because actually, yeah, because it's TV, dude. I remember when I would watch like basketball when I was like in high school, and I'd be like, "Oh, Derek Fisher's a bitch," and then I saw him
Derek Fisher's like 6'3",
he's
or
6'4",
something.
and I was
dude.
like, "Oh,
right, brother." Okay, so I've watched wrestling my whole life, right?
Right.
And I was like, when I was watching the early 2000s, late 90s, I was like, Hardy Boys, like those guys are my size. Like
Right.
maybe I could be the Hardy Boys at least one day because I'm smaller, they're smaller, you know.
Right.
And then when Matt Sydal, Evan Bourne got in WWE's, been my best friend forever. We were hanging out with all these guys,
Right.
and like the Hardys are like fucking a foot taller than me. I'm like, Jesus Christ,
Right.
like these guys that I think, because TV, you're like, what the fuck,
Right,
like
right.
when I got in the ring against Braun Strowman, he was like fucking humongous, like
Right.
I just a whole person taller than me.
But I was a kid, and so like as you get older, you understand that it's all perspective. But speaking of Matt Sydal, like that was like the most latest time where I saw someone because we were all supposed to go to LA together, remember? So I rode up there.
I remember because I
Yeah.
stayed up all night and partied.
Yeah. It was, Craig Sutton's birthday, right?
Yeah.
Shout out our buddy.
Yeah, it was fun.
So I rode up to LA with Matt Sydal, and then I met Enzo Amore, and I was like, "Holy fuck, he's big, dude!" Like,
right? Because you don't realize
He's a real like 200 pounds, like
straight up.
He's
You
fucking
don't
solid as
even
fuck.
realize too is that like the ring we use at the strip club is 14 by 14, right? The regular ring we use is 16 by 16. The WWE ring is 20 by 20. So when you see it,
yeah.
like if you look at me in the WWE ring, you're like, oh my god, this dude's fucking 4 foot tall.
Right.
Like he's a midget, you know?
In case anyone missed that, Fist Combat does do wrestling shows in a strip club,
Yeah, that's
which
right.
is about as badass as it gets in my experience
Dude.
of all the wrestling shows I've been to.
That was my dream.
Right?
If 16-year-old me would have found out that one day I was producing wrestling shows at a strip club and I was a cocaine snorting clown, I'd be
Right.
like, hell yes.
If anyone, so now I consider myself part of the wrestling industry.
Well, I mean, don't tell that to all the wrestlers, but yeah, you are.
I'm not a wrestler. I get that.
No, for sure. And you know what brought likened you up to everybody is when you let him chop you that night we went out.
I was talking about that at work today.
Good.
So I work with this virgin Chinese dude who's like in his 20s and shit. But
You could have just said Chinese. I would have known.
right. But I was like, I don't even know how it came up. And I was like, oh yeah, one of my buddies is a wrestler. And I even told him how like you guys were all chopping me and shit. And the bouncer looked at me like I was Jodie Foster in that one movie. He's like, are you okay? And you're like, nah, we're professional wrestlers. It's fine.
We're good. We're taking care of it.
That was a great fucking night, by the way.
That was the last night we all went out. My number 3, and this I think I'm bringing him in here for. I don't even think the people that watch wrestling now realize how important this guy has been for the last 8 years. But really, when you look at it, it goes Cena and then this guy is like people that were like the guy for almost a decade or more. Brock Lesnar. My number 3 is Brock Lesnar.
Oh.
He has been the guy. He has been in my lifetime by far the most legitimate athlete to be the WWE champion. Therefore,
Right.
the most.
Right.
What do you call it? Like the most believable? All
Right.
that shit.
Oh yeah.
Like nobody could have been more believable, and it's almost like I think that he's almost an afterthought because guys like us, like
Right.
we've known Brock for fucking 20 years. Like he's
Right.
nothing new and special to us. But the people that didn't know about that only knew Brock from UFC,
Right.
and then they see him come to WWE. Like, of course he's the most believable. Of
I
course
get,
he's the most legitimate.
I have 2 problems with Brock. Actually, I love Brock. Brock's one of my favorite wrestlers ever, but he's not on my list.
That's fine.
Two,
I mean, I don't care.
2 reasons. One, because it's almost like he's too believable. It doesn't make sense when he loses, especially lately. He's been losing in like 5-second matches lately. Like I guess it's his booking. The booking's really like.
I mean, but like, what can you do with him at
Right.
this point? You know,
Right.
either and here's the problem that I come to sometimes. Look at a guy like Brock Lesnar. Either he has to be your dominant, almost unbeatable champion,
Right.
or not in the title picture at all, and only doing like a feud with somebody so far away from the title you don't even think about him fighting for the
Right.
title. Because
like a Big Show.
he could never chase the title. Like the chase is. Remember when SmackDown went on Fox? They were
Right.
like, "Oh, by the way, Brock Lesnar has a shot against the champion on the first episode of Fox." It was like there was no build up, and then he's the champ, and then boom. You know what I'm saying? Like with Brock, he's the most believable. He has to either be your champion that is being chased after, or
Right.
he has to be in his own thing, totally separate.
No, I get that.
And they have lost his luster kind of lately because he has been getting beat. But like,
And quick matches.
I
Well,
mean,
it's because
you know.
he's who he's going against. Like Goldberg can't go a fucking 20-minute match, But yeah, it's like my problem with Brock because he's almost like too believable. It doesn't make sense when he loses,
But I agree with you. And up until like the last like 3, okay, so this last year he lost to Drew. The year before that, didn't he lose to Seth?
He lost to Seth a couple times, I think. Like
2 years in a row, maybe.
it was like curb stop or the stomp
yeah,
spams.
should be a curb stomp. But yeah, I agree with you over the last few years. Like, but they have no other choice but to book him the way they do.
Right.
And I don't know, but looking at his run in the last 8 years,
Right.
and then his initial 2-year run, like Brock, to me, has to be on the top 5 WWE champions of all time. So what's your number 3?
We'll go back to Brock. Like I do like his match against John Cena. And, it was a SummerSlam or Survivor Series
What?
where he just fucking
SummerSlam 2012.
yeah, where he just fucking suplexed the shit out of him. Like that was a great fucking match. You know what I mean? Like
What was it like not too long ago when he came back and fought Randy Orton and fucking like busted him open real hard?
oh yeah, and then rumors are that someone from AEW was like trying to fight him like in the gorilla position and shit.
Who's that?
Chris Jericho,
Was trying to fight who?
Brock Lesnar.
I don't doubt it.
Nope. Oh, it's I read the dirt sheets and shit. So basically, no one backstage knew that he was busting him open the hard way on purpose. Like he thought he was just going fuck. They thought he was just going ham on Randy Orton, and Chris Jericho, from what I heard, like tried to fight him like backstage and shit. And
Chris
everyone's
Jericho's always stood up for himself. You gotta love that.
like, ooh, another great list. Not to get us off sidetrack. 5 actual most badass fighters in real life.
So I can't wait for that one. Like that. This is the beauty of this podcast. Is I feel like we have endless amount of topics.
Right. I know Bart Gunn's not going to be on that list. Holy
What's that?
The top 5 like best fighters in real life.
He's gonna be on my list. I tell you, hey, dude, he beat everybody until they fed him to Butterbean. We'll talk about that another day.
Right.
Who's your number 3?
My number 3 is John Cena.
Who was your number 4? Bret Hart.
Bret
yeah,
Hart,
okay,
yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
Cena makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, like as we talked about earlier, like he carried that fucking company for a long fucking.
He was the
time,
only guy. Like it was every pay per view. It was like him against this guy, him against that guy, him against this guy. You know, like,
and they didn't really overexpose him until towards like the end of his run. You know, he had like a natural, organic, because he went from like the Doctor of Thugonomics and all that shit to like.
I for me personally, like, he was dope. Then he became like PC John Cena,
Right.
which sucked. But then you realize how like his ability to do that and do that so well, like you have to respect it. Was I a John Cena fan him as a wrestler?
Right.
No. But am I a fan of John Cena? The shit that he brings to WWE, like the biggest fan. Like
Right.
I'm not a fan of John Cena the wrestler, like the "You Can't See Me" and the hustle, loyalty, and respect.
And
That's cheese dick.
he has the ugliest merchandise though, by the way.
But he puts out He puts out
Sells
tons
the
of
most,
merchandise.
right. And then but I didn't really appreciate him at the time. Towards the end of his run, I started to appreciate him
Yeah,
because he
without
started
doubt.
putting hella people.
He's the
over,
guy.
dude.
He's the guy. He's the guy, and he held it and carried it, and wasn't. He, like, from what I've understood, he never like held people down and held on to a spot. He was like, "Look, I'll do whatever's asked of me.
Right.
I'm a company guy." He got out ahead of it and was like, "I'm never leaving WWE. Like I'll go do some movies, I'll do this shit, whatever. But like John Cena is the wrestler's wrestler. He's the
Right.
quintessential wrestler.
Right. I mean, he looks like the most imposing, because he's fucking big motherfucker.
He's a cool dude, man.
Right.
That motherfucker does all that Make a Wish and shit.
Right.
Like
he's the number one Make a Wish celebrity in like all of Make a Wish by far.
John Cena's the man. John Cena is the fucking man. Like when I'm never starstruck or like try to meet anybody, right? I've been around people, whatever. I'm not sucking my own dick. But when I was backstage at WWE, like the only guy I wanted to like get my face in front of was John Cena. So like when we were in catering, I was just like trying to catch his eye, just sort of slide in and be like, hey,
Right.
what's up? Because I got friends there and shit. So like I was hanging out, it was fun. But like John Cena, he's the fucking man.
And he's like one of the most mainstream now. You know what I mean? Like,
He's very mainstream.
right?
He's very
Everyone
mainstream.
Everyone knows who he is. Like, he's had a huge impact.
But I mean, look at him in the Hollywood sense. Like he can't even come close to touching The Rock.
Oh no.
Not even close.
No, not even.
He
close.
he can't even come close to touching what Hogan ever did in that. In that.
Wasn't he in was he like in Fast and Furious or something? There's something that he started doing it in, but yeah.
Who cares? I couldn't see him anyway. Number two, that was a great segue, right? Number two, to me, Hulk Hogan, and we're getting down to the nitty gritty of this, as Gorilla Monsoon would say. Hulk Hogan is my number two. If anybody's been paying attention, I think it's obvious who my number one is. But Hulk Hogan was the guy. He put wrestling on the map. He was the first centerpiece of wrestling on a global level.
Right.
People ask all the time, like, who created what? Did Vince create Hulkamania, or did WWE create Hulkamania, or did Hulkamania create WWE, or whatever the fuck? And it's like, look, Vince McMahon needed a guy to be the guy.
Right.
Nobody else could have been the guy except Hulk Hogan.
Right.
When you look at what he looks like, who he was, all that shit, nobody could have been the guy that Hulk Hogan was. You couldn't have made Macho Man the guy.
Right.
Like, who else could have even been close to the guy? Like,
Right.
let's be honest.
For
Let's
a
be
long
honest.
time,
Let's
too.
be honest right now. Ric Flair could have never been the guy.
No.
Look at Ric Flair next to Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is if you knew what pro wrestling was, but you'd never seen a pro wrestler, and you're like in your head, draw me a pro wrestler. It's gonna
Right.
look like Hulk Hogan.
Right.
It's good. That's wrestling right there.
Right. No, I agree. So my number two is
You're not gonna comment on it? Comment.
no. Like,
No, we'll get into it.
no. I agree because I mean, it's fucking Hulk Hogan, dude. Like, he was literally like a mainstream. Like, anyone who's never even watched wrestling, if you said wrestling, they immediately say, "Oh,
Hulk Hogan."
Like Hulk Hogan. Like,
And it's still to this day. Even going through everybody that we've got on the list. When you say pro wrestling to anybody that is more than 15, 20 years old,
Right.
they're all going to say Hulk Hogan.
right.
Everybody knows Hulk. When you think about wrestling, Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Now maybe it's The Rock, maybe it's John Cena, but to the majority of the population of the world right now, if you ask them pro wrestling, who's the first guy they'd say, I'm fucking Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, because like that was like super, super, super mainstream. Like, kids were Hulk Hogan for Halloween.
But
and,
that
like,
was the first mainstream. Like,
Right.
there wasn't even mainstream didn't even exist before
Right.
that. It was
Right.
everything was regional.
right.
You know?
No, yeah, fucking can't fuck with Hulk Hogan, dude. Like,
And fuck with Hogan. Who's your number two?
so my number two is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold. Stone Cold.
For basically the same things you said about Hulk Hogan, but he was like the second, like, And it's cool to because I remember I was a fan.
I'm not going to comment on this because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and you know where
And I was
my list is going.
it's weird because like I was a fan of Stunning Steve Austin,
Really?
the Hollywood Blondes.
While it was happening,
Yeah, like the taunt he would do with the camera, where he would act like he was like filming the camera. Like I always thought that was fucking hilarious. And plus Brian Pillman, dude. But
you can look. I can look back now and look at Austin and be like, obviously this guy was the fucking man.
right,
This guy had it. This guy had it. He
Right.
had the it factor.
right,
And when you look at guys, even when you look at him next to Brian Pillman, when you look at those two, like Stone Cold was the guy.
oh yeah,
He was
yeah.
always the guy.
Right.
He was the Shawn Michaels. Brian Pillman was the Marty Jannetty. But I don't even feel safe comparing those two like that because like Stunning Steve Austin was really awesome,
right,
and Brian Pillman was pretty awesome.
right,
Whereas Marty Jannetty was kind of a
Yeah.
scrub,
yeah,
and Shawn Michaels was the fucking best.
right. And so it was just crazy for me to see him go from the Hollywood Blondes to the fucking mega like that was the second wave of wrestling.
Yes,
Like in
for our
the
lifetime,
late
yes.
'90s. Holy fuck, dude! Because everyone I was in school with was wearing like Stone Cold shirts, DX shirts, NWO shirts.
Those were the
like,
first shirts I remember being sold at like Hot Topic and like the
They
mall,
were
and,
talking about like Kmart, and I was like,
Dude.
holy shit!
right? Kmart, Walmart, all that shit. It's fucking amazing.
But,
But Austin was the man. Now, okay, since let's just say the rest of our list because it's the same. My number one's Austin. Your number one's Hulk Hogan.
right,
Let's compare these two now. Why do you put Hogan over Austin?
he was the first, dude.
Because he was your first.
He's Michael Jordan, fucking Stone Cold's LeBron, dude. You can never. There's nothing that he could do ever that's better than the first guy to do it. You know what I mean? Like you would have to be like multiple times better than the first guy to do it in my book.
Okay, well, based on that right there, that's why Stone Cold is number one because he drew more money on pay-per-views. He sold more T-shirts. He was the guy just as long. The impact that he had for wrestling wasn't as big as Hulk Hogan did because Hulk Hogan, I felt like, took wrestling from nothing and made it something.
Right.
But Austin took it from something to being the thing.
Right.
The thing.
Right.
Like, dog, every 97, 98, 99, everybody
That's
watched
the number
wrestling.
one show on fucking TV.
Everybody watched wrestling, and like Stone Cold was the guy then.
It was like
So,
wrestling and Jerry Springer was all of like my
Well,
fucking
wrestling was Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
But like to me, like Austin is the number one because of everybody knew him. He sold more pay-per-views. Granted, the more pay-per-view dollars too.
Right.
Granted, pay-per-view was a totally different game when he was in it.
Right.
Merchandise was a totally different game when he was in it.
Right.
So, but judging to me from the business aspect of it, everything that made Hulk Hogan as influential as he was,
Right.
Austin did all those things better.
Yeah. So it's kind of like
To the mainstream. To me,
Right.
I looked at it like I'm looking at this like I was Vince McMahon. Like who was more valuable to me if I was Vince? And if I was Vince, I'd say Austin over Hogan. But it's real close.
But if you look at the stats, LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan on paper, but it's fucking Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? Like, he's the first person to ever where people are like, "Holy fuck, what is this?"
But Jordan is better than LeBron, just like Austin is better than Hogan because, like, I don't know, both of the wrestlers were. Hogan was given his opportunity. I feel like Stone Cold earned his opportunity.
Oh yeah, fuck
Where
yeah.
if you're using the basketball analogy, Jordan earned his opportunity.
Right.
LeBron was hot right when he came.
Oh
in.
yeah, since
You know?
high school.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
so to me with that,
get that.
I mean, again, this is a debate between friends,
Right.
but like to
Now fuck you, dude. Like.
one episode and we're done. But to me, that's why Austin was the man because everything that we judged Hogan by, besides taking wrestling from nothing to something,
Right.
Austin did everything better than Hogan.
But you got to give credit to the Trailblazer, dude. I feel like nothing to something's better than something to like, superstardom. But
You know, whatever.
apples, oranges, whatever.
That's why this podcast is so great.
Hell yeah.
You know,
Mostly because I'm right. And,
let's the great list, by the way. Let's read some of our. Do you watch AEW at all?
I've seen it like two. episodes.
Do you know Matt Sells,
Uh-uh.
the jobber guy that looks like a rock and roll guy with the blonde hair?
No.
He's a friend of mine. He answered our question today. He said, number is that top to bottom? Oh shit, I don't understand this. Okay, so he says number one. Okay, number 1 is Stone Cold. Number 2 is Hogan. Number 3 is The Rock. Number 4 is Cena. Number 5 is Michaels. So him and I agree on everything except number 5. We got the same people except Brock.
I won't argue with Michaels though. I mean,
Michaels could be on that.
right?
Could be.
Michaels, Bret Hart. It's got to be one of those.
He's not in the top 3 though, to me. Tim Iverson has a more well-rounded view of it. I think he might be a little bit older. Hogan, San Martino, Austin, Cena, Savage. If you're looking at the last,
He must be older.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
said. If you look at 50 years, it's hard to argue that list. You
Right.
know, like San Martino's got to be on there.
Right.
Savage has to be on there. Like honestly, hold on.
But Savage was never the guy though.
You're totally right. Like if Rock was never the guy, Savage was definitely never the guy.
The Rock was kind of the guy.
But that's what I'm saying. Like if you look at it like The Rock was more the guy than Savage ever was.
Right.
You know, but that was also in an era where they only changed the championship every fucking 5 years instead of every fucking 5 weeks.
To The Rock's credit, though, him and Stone Cold were the two that you had to see. Like, you had to see a
Well,
Rock segment and you had to see a Stone Cold
There has
segment.
never in the history of wrestling been a 1-2 punch better than The Rock and Stone Cold.
Right.
Never will be, in fact. Never will be.
I
In
agree.
fact, if we're arguing like who's the best and all that shit, I don't think there will ever be anybody ever in the history of wrestling to make an impact the way that everybody we said on our list did, because everybody is scripted and told what to do.
Right.
All those people that we've
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
have gotten there because they took the ball and ran with
It
it.
was sink or swim, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon Johnson says Hogan, San Martino, Rock, Undertaker, Cena. Why didn't we put Undertaker on the list? Because he was never the guy.
He was the guy in the locker room.
Sure, we're talking
Right.
champion.
Right. But
We're
I'm
talking
saying, yeah,
champion.
he never carried it.
James Jackson says Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Rock, Mankind, Edge. How can you put Ric Flair on a WWE list? I don't know. Edge, if you're fucking like 5 years younger than me or younger, I could see that. Edge, I never liked Edge.
I didn't see Edge's run, so
Yeah.
it was actually surprised me when I tuned in one day and Edge was like the champion. I was like, what the fuck, Edge?
Right. Like a little skinny little
And
fucking
Mankind,
skater dude.
come on.
Mankind was dope, but he was never the guy.
Right.
Antonio Donato says Rock, Austin, Undertaker, HBK, Triple H. Why didn't we put Triple H on the list?
Because he made himself the man.
He was the first Roman Reigns. He was shoved. To me,
Yeah.
he was Roman Reigns before Roman Reigns was Roman
Right.
Reigns. Patrick Earhart says Macho Man, Stone Cold, Undertaker, HBK, Mysterio. I think that's because this guy is from San Diego.
Okay.
Rivers Langley says
I like
Austin.
how we just kept going on.
Yeah,
Skip
fuck
past
him.
that one.
Right, I'm not talking about that. Rivers Langley says Austin, Rock, Bryan, Jericho, Foley. This guy must be like 5 to 10 years younger than us. 'cause
Daniel Bryan?
Daniel Bryan.
Eh, if
No,
I was
Bryan
younger-
Adams. Crush.
With the nose ring. No, if I was younger, I would probably
When he was
put,
chronic, that was his best friend.
if I was younger, I would put Daniel Bryan higher on my list. But
For sure.
It's harder.
Andrew Michael says Rock, Seth Rollins, Sting. Sting wasn't WCW. All right. I'm not reading his list. His list doesn't count, but Andrew Michael says Rock, Seth Rollins, Sting, Jericho, Batista.
Ugh.
He spelled Batista with a U, so I'm just throwing this out.
I
Steve-
am a huge fan of Seth Rollins. Heel Seth Rollins.
He's good, but he would barely make my top 10 list.
I don't even think he would make my top 10 list.
Yeah,
but
well, there you go.
I do love his segment, his program with John Cena though. When he was a heel and he'd be like, "Hey, John!" Like
That
that's how
was
he
great.
would say John was fucking hilarious.
He used John Cena helped to put him over and to put him in a good spot. I
fine
like that.
speech.
Brandon Thomas says Bob Backlund, Bret the Hitman Hart, Hulk Hogan, CM Punk, Kurt Angle. Bob
Backlund.
I mean, this guy must be 45 years old, right?
I did
Bob Backlund was a champion for like a good 5-6 years, I think.
until he lost it at a house show.
Everything was a house show. What are you talking about?
No. He lost it
Don't fuck with me right now. December '83, Bob Backlund lost it to the Iron Sheik. The next month at Madison Square Garden, Iron Sheik lost it to Hogan.
Well, I meant Bob Backlund lost it to Diesel at a house show.
Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, he's a jobber. No, but what was he? See, you didn't even know about that. Did you know about the title run outside? Yeah, Bob Backlund was like, after Bruno, Bob Backlund was the man.
I was hoping his thing with Darren Young would have panned out a little bit longer, but they give up on shit.
Chris Rowe says Hogan, Warrior, Rock, Bret Hart, Stone Cold. I'm just going to try to run through these real quick. Chris Gimlin says Stone Cold, HBK, Brett, Taker, Rock. A lot of these lists look the same. Mondo says Bruno, Hogan, Austin, Cena, Backlund, and JJ says Buddy Rogers, Bruno Sammartino, Bret Hart, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think JJ is looking at like the history of WWE, which I appreciate that.
Yeah,
list.
I get that. That's a good list.
Yeah, do you now hearing from everybody and talking about this? Do you feel like there's anybody that we should mention at all that didn't get mentioned or talked about? The top WWE champions of all time.
Yeah, we did leave out the Undertaker, but
again, is he top 5 though?
Nah.
Is he top? He's to me he like when I look at the Undertaker, I don't ever think of him as WWE champion. I think of the Streak and only the Streak. Because this list is top WWE champions. Who was the top WWE champions? Do you even think of the Undertaker as like a WWE champion? Like when would you say the Undertaker era was?
Plus, no one even remembers his first title run when he beat
91.
When he beat Hogan. Yeah.
Tuesday in Texas. I know. I'm a fucking historian. But yeah, I never viewed Undertaker's contribution to the business has always been to me like the Streak. That's who he was at all times.
I feel like the Streak and like enforcing the locker room.
For sure. Again, but we're talking about out in front of everybody thing. But yeah, if we talk about guys that like had the respect of everybody, like he's the number one, and whoever's number 2 is so far down the list.
He's like Madonna. He had to keep reinventing himself, but it worked,
I can't think of any. Well, okay, let's.
I like Purple Undertaker.
We'll have a list of people that reinvented themselves. Like Jericho and Undertaker have to be at the top of those lists, right?
Right. Purple Undertaker was badass though.
So what? Okay, so when do you say Purple Undertaker was? Like mid '90s, like first Undertaker was gray,
right?
Then he was purple,
right?
Then he was biker,
right?
Then he was UFC fighter.
Because when he was purple, that's when he was like Phantom of the Opera, like he had the broken nose or whatever,
I don't even know if he had that. He just had that mask. It was dope. Well, dude, I couldn't ask for a better first podcast with this shit. This was so much fun. I love this conversation. Hopefully people will listen to this and they will interact with us because over everything, I hope that this comes off as a conversation that people can get themselves into. And
send us some ideas for lists to make too,
On those lists, I got a good 4 or 5 suggestions. Plus, I feel like we've come up with 4 or 5 during this one. What do you think we should do next week?
Favorite gimmick.
Favorite gimmick?
Yeah.
Like top 5 gimmicks?
Yeah.
Top 5 gimmick. Like what would you consider a gimmick then?
Like Doink the Clown. Like the characters, like. About
so okay, when you say that, who do you think would be on near your top of the and then name some characters who you think should be on like a top 10 list.
Maybe not on the top 10 list, but just characters I like that are character based, like.
So you'd say like Razor Ramon over
or
Diesel or like
Duke the Dumpster Droese.
Okay, so like not wrestlers who were champions.
Shyster, dude.
Okay, like most entertaining gimmicks.
Right.
I like that. I like that. Maybe that might be episode number 2. Follow us on all social media. Follow me at Dirty Ron McDonald on all social media. Follow our podcast at PW Idiot List, PWIDIOTLIST. John, tell them where to see you.
Motherfucking at Real John Atkins, RealJonAtkins, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that shit, Pornhub, wherever you want to.
Do you have Pornhub account?
We can do that next. I don't give a fuck.
Well, dude, this was so much fun. I had a great time with you. I can't wait to get back out there and doing this. Pro wrestling has been my life, my entire life. I love it. I live and breathe this shit. And to find somebody that I get along with and can do a podcast with, but also do the live shows that we do. We do comedy together. We do wrestling together. We're fucking doing shit. And we're ready to hit the ground with the wheels running as soon as the shit's done.
Unstoppable force, dude. You and me.
Without a doubt. All right. Give us a follow. Hit us up. Let us know what the fuck's up. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next week. We got a final 2 words for you.
Suck it.